All right, we got a gas problem in DC, but it's not what you think. I think we're being gaslit by the politicians, especially the president. And speaking of the president, if you heard his latest speech on the economy, you're gonna be convinced that there was a gas leak somewhere in the White House because home dude is delusional. But let's talk about it. Hello everyone, this is Keith. Welcome to the Ghetto Sapien channel, your home for inner city intelligence. So, how do you like the economy? Is it good for you? How's it working out? How's gas? How's the price of eggs? How's the price of going to a restaurant? Can you afford to go to a restaurant anymore? How about the movies? Have you left the house? These things should be going pretty well for you because Joe Biden says the economy is robust. It's just running on all cylinders. You don't believe me? Listen to the man himself. He's going to describe an economy that might seem foreign to you.
We've laid an economic foundation that's historically strong. And now we're moving forward to a new moment where we can build on that foundation, build a future of stable, steady growth so we can bring down inflation without sacrificing all the historic gains we've made. And that's what we're beginning to see in today's jobs report. With today's numbers, the jobs over the last 3 months have averaged about 400,000 jobs per month. That's historically robust and a sign we're beginning to shift to steady growth after rapidly recovering 600,000 jobs per month over the prior 6 months. And as we move to a new period of stable, steady growth, we should expect to see more moderation. We aren't likely to see the kind of blockbuster job reports month after month like we had over this past year. But that's a good thing. That's a sign of a healthy economy with steady growth, rising wages for working families, everyday costs easing up, and shrinking the deficit. That stability puts us in a strong position to tackle what is clearly a problem, inflation. I've been very clear that fighting inflation is my top economic priority.
Fighting inflation is his top economic priority. But let's talk to the other Joe Biden who said something just a couple of days ago. Okay, that had to be the Joe Biden after the meds wore off. Because the one before, when in the meds, everything was robust. Now that his Thorazine and antipsychotic drugs that he gets every time he goes to Delaware on Fridays, after it wears off, I think that was the Joe Biden that is the real Joe Biden. Who said he can't click a switch and everything goes back to normal. But you know what? He had that opportunity to just click on a switch and let everything go back to normal. Back when he first got into office, the economy had been artificially stagnant. We had all these governors that shut down the economy. It started under Trump. Trump tried to get the governors to come back for a little bit, and he found out quickly that president does not have the power to force states, the sovereign states to do anything, really. I mean, how's it going to look anyway? Send an army in to tell, the people in California to go back to work? It wasn't going to work out that way. And I think that's a good thing anyway. The states have existed before the federal government did, so the states have more power. So, again, Trump tried. So the economy continued to be hampered and locked down, but the demand for products still grew. People still wanted stuff. People still wanted to go out. They wanted to go to the movies. They wanted to go to the restaurant. They wanted to buy clothing, food, stuff like that. So there was a pent-up demand for products, and all Biden had to do when he inherited the economy after Trump which, look, gas was still cheap. It's still $2 and change per gallon, and food was still plentiful and cheap. All Biden had to do was just step aside, just let it go. He could have just went back to the basement in Delaware, and things would have went along fantastically. To be honest, it was just an easy, almost clicking a switch. Because what happened was during the lockdown, it's like, have you ever tried to take a ball, like a beach ball, and hold it underwater? It takes a lot of force. You have to really shove it down and hold it there. That's exactly what was happening with our economy under lockdown. The governors were using force to hold people from going back to work. Fear, really. They were just frightening people and keeping them from going back to work, saying you're going to die of COVID. Even oddly enough, the people working at Walmart and the supermarkets, Chick-fil-A fast food, they lived. They worked. I guess they were considered essential employees, like alcohol and things like that. It was an essential way to keep the liquor stores open. Churches had to be closed. Gyms had to be closed. But the other things, Walmart, Target, Amazon, they had to be open. One day they needed to do a study on that, on how many cashiers at Walmart caught COVID because they had to go to work all the time. But that's another story. So anyway, so they held the economy down. All you had to do, like holding a beach ball down under the water, just let it go. Come up to the surface all by itself, and you look like a hero. That's as close to clicking a switch as Biden could have gotten, just to click a switch and let the economy just return back to normal. So far, with all this bragging about the unemployment rate at 3.9%, we're still 8 million jobs short. So we haven't recovered all those lost jobs, and might never recover all the lost jobs that we lost during the lockdown. The other thing that happened was the labor participation rate is still at a record low. That's why the unemployment's looking really good at a 3.9%, because a lot of people haven't entered the job market again. It's at a record low, like I said, so it's going to make the unemployment rate look pretty good because it's measuring fewer people going back to work. So, those things, it was a layup for Biden. He could have just left things alone. Instead of letting that beach ball go and rise up to the surface by itself, Biden decided to throw $1.9 or $1.7 trillion into an economy that wasn't producing anything. So now you got the classic situation that causes inflation, is when you have too few products and too many dollars chasing too few products. Again, so we're not producing anything, and then all of a sudden $1.9 trillion is thrown into the system. So, of course, the price of everything is going to go up. And it's not like Biden wasn't warned. And you can't say he wasn't. You could say, okay, say maybe he's warned by people on the right. Ignore them. They don't like Biden anyway. But Biden was warned by people on his own side. He's warned by the Democrats. Mediaite is a left-wing source, and I like using left-wing sources when I can, so no one can say, it's Fox News, who believes Fox News. Well, this is pretty left-wing. Former Obama advisor calls out Biden's dishonest excuse for inflation in a pointed NYT New York Times op-ed. Former Obama economic advisor Stephen Ratner slammed President Biden on Thursday over blaming the supply chain crisis for the rise of inflation, which rose at a 7.5% inflation rate. Man, those were the glory days, the golden days of our economy, when inflation was only 7.5%. Anyway, so rose 7.5% last month compared to January 2021, a 40-year high. Yeah, because it's like 8.5% now. And 1% more inflation doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot. And that wasn't the only guy who warned Biden. Also, Politico, another left-wing rag, Politico Nightly, Larry Summers, and this is one of the most petty headlines I've seen in a while. Larry Summers, I told you so inflation tour. Winning time. Larry Summers, the human economic air horn that keeps blowing in the West Wing ears, is declaring vindication again. The former Treasurer Secretary under former Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton said, I can't even speak today. The former Treasury Secretary under President Bill Clinton and senior advisor and a one-time Fed chair candidate under Barack Obama. So this guy, he ain't no Republican. He wrote in an op-ed today, noting that critics of his big inflation warnings were all wrong, and he, so far at least, has been dead on accurate, which isn't shy about reminding anyone. You could tell that Politico doesn't really like him much, but he's right. How hard it was to predict that throwing $1.9 trillion into a dead economy isn't going to cause inflation. We were promised it was transitory several times. Janet Yellen just recently apologized for not getting it right, aka she was lying because she's not stupid. She knew this was going to cause inflation, but she went for it anyway. Look, we're all being gaslit. We know the economy sucks. I don't know if I said it before, but 83% of the U.S. population, most of that is Republicans, but I'm sure there's a lot of Democrats within that group, think Biden's doing a terrible job. 83%. I haven't seen this country agree to that degree. All of us get together, 83%, and agree on anything. So that's how bad the economy's doing. What I find hilarious is that recently there's been rumors from within the White House that Biden is not happy with his poll numbers. He's upset. He thinks that his own White House is undermining him, going back and correcting things he said because he's a moron. And that he doesn't really like that much. It makes him look like a weak leader, even though abandoning, Americans in Afghanistan might make you look like a weak leader, or going hat in hand to Saudi Arabia and saying, please, can you produce more oil because I'm not going to allow more oil production in the United States. That might make you look like a weak leader. Maybe, stuff like that. Not the fact that your White House is undermining you, making you look a weak leader. It's basically this turmoil going on within the Biden White House. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone because what's going on in this country is reflective of what's going on within the White House. No one's in charge. It's a complete mess. Biden, I think, is the one good thing he's done, and it's just one good thing, is he made incumbency utterly worthless. His 50 years of DC experience means nothing. It didn't help us. It didn't help him whatsoever. He has the media on his side, unquestionably. They only recently started criticizing him just a little bit. And his numbers are lower than Trump's at this time, which is amazing, again, considering how much institutional power is behind Biden. There's hardly any leaks coming from like the FBI or CIA like under Trump. And he's still, and as much as the media is trying to help him out, he's still failing. So imagine if he had fair coverage. He would be at like 12% favorability, right? But if he had fair media coverage, he wouldn't be president, to be honest. So there's that. I think, again, it's a good thing that incumbency is now being questioned and prior political experience is pretty much worthless. Trump, who had before he became president, had no political experience whatsoever. Yet he has done, in a short amount of time, in one half-assed presidency. I say half-assed because most of the machinery of the government was against him and fought him every inch of the way, including his own party to some degree. he still got a lot done. Peace, treaties were signed, at least peace agreements. We had a roaring economy. We had low black and Hispanic unemployment. We had a protected border. There was a lot that was going on that was pretty good. And the man had no prior political experience. He made almost all the other presidents as unpresidential as he can be at certain times. Who cares? But his performance, he outperformed the Bushes, Clinton, Obama, and Biden. Anyone can outperform him. And the man, again, had no political experience. I think that's one of his biggest threats to politicians. It shows that this country does not need professional politicians to run it. We don't need family dynasties. We don't need a political class. We just need ordinary Americans who just want to step up and serve the country for a short amount of time. Trump not making any money, in fact, kind of losing money while he's as president is rare, but it's laudable, and it's something that, quite frankly, we need to return to, where you're not making a ton of money while you're in office. You're serving your country. And I think it'd be possible if we shrunk the size of government, where then serving as a politician for a short amount of time might be more akin to like serving on jury duty. You go, you don't really like it. You're not going to make a ton of money, but you're there, you're in and out. You go back to the private market and go back to making money. Well, we need to get away from politicians becoming millionaires in office and we just shrug our shoulders and go, that's how it is. That should not be how it is. We need to have competency in government, and these professional politicians are not competent. The only thing they're really competent at is lining their own pockets. I think the government's broken, to be honest, and I think it's just running on its own inertia, and people at the top realize that, and they're trying to extract as much resources as they can before the whole thing collapses. I think the people need to take back power from the government, and it needs to be more localized. We need to shrink the size of the central government. Maybe that's one thing we can learn over the next 2 years from Biden, that we really need to decentralize power, and we need to weaken the power of Congress and government over our lives. Things have become too political, and when they become too political, everything becomes divisive and become tribal. So maybe that is the blessing that could come from the next 2 years under Biden. Things can get so bad that people start questioning why do we need such big, intrusive, centralized government, period. See, I'm trying to see some sort of silver lining in all this stuff. But I think in the long run, the country will be better and stronger, more robust, after the Biden admin is the hell out of there. But that is my take on this. What's your comment? Like, share, comment, and subscribe.